Firearms, who has graciously come to join me in the chat tonight. So thank you for joining me tonight, Tarsha.
Thank you for having me. Hello,
Okay,
everyone.
so first of all, I want to make sure everyone can hear and see both of us. So if one of my mods can just 5x5 us and make sure that we are all good. And let me switch around here. So, all right, it looks like we are. All right, thank you, Nanya. Okay, so it looks like everyone can hear us. So, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who have not seen Tarsha from Triple Threat Firearms, I'm going to let her introduce herself, but she and I had met. Actually, was it on Off the Wall Preppers Live the first time?
Yes,
It was you, myself, Texas Red Leg,
yeah,
and your audio's a little low.
it is. Okay.
Yeah,
You can hear me better?
yeah. Okay, yeah, I can hear you a little better now. And I forgot who else was it. Texas Surplus Pro.
Texas Red Leg.
It's Texas Red Leg. Okay.
Hmm.
So thank you, Lucky, for posting that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is her site, so be sure to check it out. And let's say hi to the chat real quick before we get into. Ooh, there's a lot of people in here. Um, so let me go back and let's see. You're a popular lady. Howdy, Moonsprout, formerly Color Drop. I like that. Okay, very cool. Magic, hello, Little Miss Prepper. Random, howdy, howdy. Okie Con and Magic, Sean. Let's see who else. Mr. Nate, hello, Loretta. And wait, I'm missing somebody in here. Kentucky Survival. And oh, Joe again. Hey, Joe. And I think I missed a few people in here. Texas Surplus Pro and Dragonfly. I do like that name, Moonsprout. So Survival Buzz. Well, he's got a big crowd tonight, Tarsha.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
So what I'm gonna do, folks, is I'm gonna do the same format we did with Homestead and 31. I'm gonna post the questions, and Tarsha and I have already kind of talked about them, and then we're kind of gonna run through the questions, and then we'll open it up to the floor. So just so anyone who comes in late knows what we're talking about.
Okay.
All right. So question one: what got you into preparedness?
Well, I had my first child in college. So, raising a child in college, it had me in that preparedness mindset. Because when you have a child, you always have to have
Mhm.
your diapers, you have to have the formula, you got to make sure your child is safe, have everything that they need. And as well as growing up in a family that taught us to always have, and like if I left the house, always had extra with me. So
Oh,
it was like we always been prepared.
yep.
But being in college and having my child, that really taught me to be prepared
Yeah.
more than
And
anything. And then when Katrina hit, that really
yeah.
bucked it up for me
Ooh. And
because
Katrina was bad.
it was bad. And I said to myself, I don't never want to be in that situation
Hmm.
because so many people were not prepared for what was coming.
No, no. And it's funny you say that because it's hurricanes are not new, right? Hurricanes always hit the coast. We've It's been a long time since we've seen one like that. I think Harvey was the Ike did a good number, but it kind of hit an unpopulated area. Harvey did a lot of damage, and yeah, you'd think people see the hurricanes every year. You'd think
Hmm.
you only have to go through one. Now, when you were dealing with the Katrina aftermath, did you notice was there a lot of panic among a lot of other folks? Like they were panicking for food and
Even though I was not in Katrina, but it impacted others who was in other states as well.
That's a good point.
And it made me say, okay, Tarsha, you need to have this. You need to make sure
Mhm.
your vehicle is gassed up. You need to have a getaway bag if you need to leave out the house urgently, um, as well as making sure you have the weather radios,
Yes,
letting you know that something is coming.
that's a very good point. And so it was more like watching it from a distance. You're saying, I don't want to be that person.
Right, because we was watching on TV and we was like, why these people won't leave? Because some of them couldn't leave because they wasn't
Yeah.
prepared. They just wasn't prepared.
No, there were some stubborn ones too. But
Yeah,
yeah, you're right
that's
though.
true.
A
Yeah.
lot of them, I think a lot of them locked up. You know how you get that panic,
Hmm.
and they didn't know what to do, so they did nothing.
Right. And that's a situation that I do not want to be in.
No.
I felt for everyone that was over there, but
Hmm.
it taught me a valuable lesson of being extra prepared than what I already was.
Yeah, Dragonfly even said, I was in many hurricanes in my life. Ivan was bad, but that went east of where I was. Katrina was pretty awful.
Yes, it was. That was a eye opener for a lot of people.
Yeah. So now I'm assuming, your kiddo is now older. Does your child participate in the preparedness? Do he or she, I don't know if you have, do you understand what's involved, why you do what you do?
He does. My son is 26 now.
Oh, well, he's a man
Yes,
now.
he's a man. But I do have younger ones, and I teach them about being prepared as well. Even when they go off to school, they have everything with changing
Mhm.
clothes, all that. Even
Okay, I'm so happy you said that. I'm not the only crazy parent who gives their kids a get home bag.
right, right, absolutely. So it's like my son, he was more so prepared,
Right.
but lately I have been having to get on to him because
The oldest one.
my oldest one, yes, I will go and take care of my grandbaby when his job send him overseas and stuff. So I go to his house and there's a half a case of water,
And
and
you're
that
like, I taught you better.
absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Oh man. It's funny of my kids, the ones I thought were not paying attention were the ones who paid attention. And the one I thought would get it became the dummy. I, I don't know.
Right.
But that's interesting. So do the younger ones, do they, like when you test new equipment or anything, do they practice with you like, oh, we're going to learn to use a propane stove today?
How to start a fire. We do that in the backyard. How to put up a tent. How to prepare the freeze dried foods with the water.
Mhm.
How to cook out in the open. So yeah, we do it all. I show them when I purchased my dual fuel generator.
Mhm.
I show them how to operate that as well.
So God forbid if you're stuck at work or you're separated,
Hmm.
you at least know they can exist for 24 hours and not burn the house down.
Right. And I also when when I created our go bags or
Hmm.
our emergency bags, whatever you want to call them, everyone has their own bag.
See that?
So they know what's in their bags and where everything is located. So they know that's your responsibility, that stays on you. Um, Even though we have it in the big rollout tubs, our items, our emergency items, um, we just gonna pull that tub on out and leave. But everyone has their individual bag, so that teaches them to be prepared as well. Even though my kids I have a 18-year-old and a 15-year-old and a 11 and an 8-year-old.
Oh,
So it's like everybody has a responsibility.
okay. See, that's good. And also, your kids, you got a few older ones mixed with the younger ones. So So
Right.
have you assigned like, because I know Homesteading when she was on, she said like my oldest son is assigned to the baby. Like you grab
Mhm.
your stuff and then get that one and make sure she's out
Right.
the door.
And that's what I do also when it comes to if something happens and we are all in different locations. So if they're
Right.
at school, so my oldest son knows to go get one of his sisters who is located at another school. And then I would go to another school and get the two little ones.
That are in the same
So,
elementary.
right. And everyone heads home or we head to our other emergency location.
Okay. Good. And that's a really great plan. So the kids know if I can't make it home for whatever reason,
Right.
I have an alternative location that I can go to
Yes, as
until my family comes.
yes, and as well as the trusted emergency contacts. They have that on them.
Okay. See, that's really, really great. And I know my kids could run home from school because uh, I remember one was being cantankerous in the car, so mom said, "You can go run home." And he was a track runner, so he ran home. He said afterwards, "I didn't realize it was 2.5 miles," but you know that one of those life lessons. But no, it's really good that your kids know their role
Right,
and they each have their task. They have their job.
right. And I wish that my kids were closer to home, their
Right,
schools, but they're not. So that does make me a little more anxious.
right. Now,
Yeah.
do you have friends, trusted people where it's like if you can't go home, go to Miss Sarah's house or whatever, and you can wait there until I get you?
Yes,
Okay. See, that's good. So you've already planned a few contingencies in there too, just in case you
absolutely.
can't get home and deal with it.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's yeah. So folks, I mean that's really good advice for everyone out there. I mean, even if it's not children, you could have an elder who may need help. Then you can assign, okay, you need to go help grandma or grandpa, make sure they're okay, and get them in the car or get them in the house. So okay, so that brings us to the second question, which I know everyone's dying to ask. That's why I asked about preparedness first, because I'm thinking the second one's going to take a while. When and why did you take firearms instruction or instructing as something you wanted to do? How did that come about?
Well, first off, I always wanted to be in law enforcement growing up. I always wanted to be able to defend myself, um, prosecute criminals. That was
Right.
just growing up. That's what you want. You have
Yeah.
those goals. That's what
That dog scared me. Go ahead. She was sitting right under me when she barked.
you. But working in law enforcement, I had to carry a weapon as well. I
Okay.
grew up shooting out in the country growing up. So firearms was something that was a normal thing in my family.
Right. So this wasn't something out of the family culture. This was something
Correct.
that you guys, it was part of your lives.
Yes. And working in that field where I had to carry a firearm, that was something that I wanted to continue. So when I became disabled, I said to myself, I felt like I needed to strengthen my skill set
Hmm.
and provide others with the necessary skills to protect themselves.
So I'm sure in the time you were in that career, you probably saw a few things too that made you think,
Oh, yes.
yeah, if I ever stop doing this, I don't want to be that person that I'm now trying to help or bringing to the hospital, as the case may be.
Right. I've
And
seen so much. I've seen so much. And a lot of it could have been avoided by certain people, but they just wasn't aware. So that taught me a whole lot.
now, and you and I mean, I grew up on the streets of New York, of all places. So
Mhm.
you and I both know the streets have their own dangers. But in your experience, were you seeing a lot more people that were looking for trouble, or was it people
Mhm.
were just clueless to what
It
was
was,
going on around them?
yes, it was some that just was like a magnet um, to being violated, you know.
Yeah.
And then there was the others who just wanted to be in that lifestyle.
Okay. So you've seen a bit of both.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
and see that's something as a parent you could relate. You want to keep your kids, especially when you've seen it yourself. You don't want your kids around that. So I'm
Yeah.
sure we both make our kids or have made our kids miserable at times, but
Right.
that way you kind of keep them between the
Yeah.
buoys.
Yeah. You have to teach them how not to be a criminal
Hmm.
and how not to be a victim.
That's a good point. That's that you guys, everyone, take that. Take if you get one takeaway, learn how not to be a criminal and not to be a
Not
victim.
absolutely, because a lot of these kids they stray at a young age.
Right.
And my son has came home and said, "Mama, I have talked to several of my friends because they telling me they want to drop out, join a game." And he's like, "That is just crazy."
So that's like their career choice. Like,
Exactly.
what
Exactly.
happened to being a fireman or an astronaut?
Right.
I mean, because you and I both know the life expectancy of a gang member is,
Mm-hmm.
if they're lucky, 22.
Right.
Whew, that's scary, and it's scary to see that.
It is. You have to teach your kids on both levels. Like I said, about not becoming that criminal,
Mhm.
because it's very easy.
Oh yeah.
And it can happen just from you hanging with other people.
Hmm.
And then how
Absolutely.
not to become a victim. Yeah.
So at some point you decided I'm going to be a firearms instructor.
Mhm.
Were you already a member of USCCA, or did you kind of search around and say, I think this is a good path?
Right. I got into both at the same time.
Oh, okay.
After my disability and I stopped working, I sought out firearm training
Okay.
from a fellow former classmate of mine. So at that point, I was like, hold up, I
This is
still got
cool.
it. Even though, when you're in the field, you don't actually just shoot your weapon constantly
Right.
working. You have to go and get recertified, but you're not constantly shooting your weapon. So, and after not working, I said to myself, I want to get back out there. I want to know how to protect myself even better than what I knew, get better
Right.
skills. So I did that. And then I felt a little more comfortable. And I was like, okay, well, maybe you should become an instructor and teach others.
See, and that's very cool. And to a point, for instance, my son and his wife are both Army,
Mm-hmm.
but he deployed overseas and he had to take a whole new level of training. They had the same MOS,
Mm-hmm.
the same specialty, and she can shoot. She's an Army girl, but she's even told me, I'm nowhere near your son, because what they taught us in basic training, and they were MPs, right? So law
Right.
enforcement training, versus what he learned when he got overseas and he had to take specialized training. He said it was a whole new level of handling firearms, moving through houses. The scenarios were, and to your point, I think a lot of police officers, I've known a few others who said they had to get additional training outside,
And
because
that
what the
is true.
department requires is just
Mhm.
very fundamental. Are you finding that's the case from what you've experienced?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And a lot of people did not know how to actually shoot. They was able to qualify, but they did not know the, like you say, the fundamentals.
And do you think that that could lend itself to either the wrong people getting shot or the officer getting killed? I mean, it goes both ways
It is. Right.
for lack of training in this kind of environment where it evolves so quickly.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what my class also teaches you, real life situations and scenarios.
Okay, so yours is very much a defensive.
Defensive. Right.
This could happen to you 2 hours after you walk out of my classroom kind of scenario.
Right. We start off with the basic and then you can work your way up to the defensive.
Okay.
You just, you know, layer of skills.
And are you seeing more men than women? Are you seeing an increase? Like, did it start like a lot of guys and then become a lot of women, or
It's women. It's
a
more,
lot of women?
and that is a wonderful thing that women
I
are
agree.
taking on that responsibility of protecting themselves and not just depending on their spouse or their neighbors or the cops.
Hmm.
Is their responsibility. And majority of the women out here now are single women. So we are alone and we need to protect ourselves.
Okay. Yeah, and that's absolutely important.
Yeah.
Typical police response times, what, in a city, maybe 5 minutes, unless they happen to be around the corner.
Yes. Yes.
So there's a window there where things can go very badly if
Within
something's
seconds.
happening.
Yes, within seconds something can go bad.
Okay. And
Yeah.
it's been very steady since you started, once you built your clientele, if you will. Uh,
Um, it was more so during the I'm trying to say, I'm trying not to say the word, but
oh, the cootie?
through, yes, through that. That's
Okay.
when everything was high. Everybody wanted to get training. Everybody wanted to purchase a firearm.
Okay.
But when things opened back up, people got a little lax
Hmm.
and felt comfortable.
And, it's funny because I bet after, we're talking about Katrina and Harvey,
Mhm.
a lot of people get into preparedness. I'm going to have gear, and then they forget.
And yeah, absolutely. I even heard that people were taking back their firearms, selling them. They felt like
Really?
they didn't need them. Yeah,
Wow. That's, if anything, keep it because it'll be worth more 5 years from now. And you can, I mean, if you really don't want it, somebody will buy it from you and probably make you some money. That's crazy. And that what you're doing is awesome. It's funny, my sister, my oldest sister, is in the Carolinas, and she was never a firearms person. My dad was a soldier's, my brother and I were in the military. She was like, and she was our flower child. And after, she moved to the Carolinas, it was just her and the kids.
hmm
And she wound up getting her first carry license. She got herself a really fancy old school 38 special, but with the long barrel, like the police
hmm
stuff. Happiest girl ever with that thing. She still has it. And it put me and my dad at ease because I'm like, all right, well, if someone gets in the house, you know,
right,
she's going to protect the babies.
right. That's the exact same thing how my brothers felt when I decided to, boost my skills up and have more firearms. That they are a little more comfortable, not having to come to my rescue.
Right.
I know how to defend myself, and my brothers want training from me.
I bet that makes you feel good. Like, see,
It
I have a
does.
special sister.
It does. Yeah.
And but it does give them, it gives the family peace of mind to know you're not only you have a firearm, you're competent, you're properly trained for it.
Right.
So, man, that's really awesome. I'm glad you're doing that, as the as someone who's had women in my circle growing up who were victimized, who were attacked and whatnot,
Right.
um, that gives me peace of mind knowing that people like you are out there teaching other women and moms to defend their kids and themselves.
And I try to tell women, like, I've been in abusive marriages in the past. Um, uh, I try to tell women, we are a target all
Mhm.
day from people that we know and people we don't know.
Yep.
So you have to be able to protect yourself.
And I bet the confidence when one of your students gets to the point where they carry and practice confidently, it makes them less desirable as a target. I mean, even from a law enforcement perspective, they're not going to go after the woman who looks like she's on a mission, she's focused. They're going to find the one that they can intimidate.
Hmm. Exactly. They know who the weak ones are.
Mhm.
They do know who the weak ones are. Yeah.
So, on that note, you mentioned new shooters now selling their firearms. So, we may have some new shooters in the audience, or somebody will watch it later. So, question three: what are your suggestions for someone who just bought their first firearm? They said, "Oh, the zombies are coming, or there'll be riots, food riots. Take
Yeah.
your pick." And they came home from the sporting goods store with their little box. What would you tell them?
Um, if if that person had already purchased a firearm before I was able to speak with them, I would say let's go get the training.
Mhm.
A lot of women I've heard are getting their firearms and they're placing it in their closet and don't touch it anymore. So you have to get training. You have to know how to operate your firearm.
Mhm.
But before anyone has a firearm, I try to get them to come and train with me because I will have several firearms, different sizes,
Right.
different calibers for them to come and train with. So they can get familiar with the gun, get comfortable with one, what fits their hand best. And also depending on their attire, if what you want to wear,
Yeah.
because I do, I switch out depending on what I'm wearing. So,
Yeah.
so I try to tell a lot of women not to go purchase a firearm. You need to go and train with several different ones.
Okay. Yeah. And to your point, as a young husband, I made the mistake of buying uh, a firearm for my wife, and she shot it and went, "This is awful." And so it now became my truck gun, and it's been in my pickup truck forever. Um, that one extra revolver you have hidden in the back seat because you don't. But now, have you had students come to you and say, "My brother, dad, sister, boyfriend, or this article told me to get this firearm," and
Yeah.
they come with a brand new thing to your class and still got the labels on it? What do you tell them when they do that?
I'll look and I'll be like, "Do you know how to use this?" And when they do shoot it, they're not happy at all. And sometimes I don't,
Really?
yeah, sometimes I don't, you know, give it away saying, no, I don't think that's not going to work for you. But I let them get the feel of it, and that will be their true feeling instead of
Mhm.
me, you know, sort of persuading them, no, that's not right for you. So when I let them, they go and shoot it, then they see for themselves they can't handle it. It's either not fitting their hand, it's not comfortable.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've had that situation quite a bit.
Yeah. And Dragonfly makes a good point. Get trained and be comfortable with it.
Right.
And because you don't want to try and clear a jam in the dark at 2 a.m. with someone kicking in your kitchen.
Right.
That's
Absolutely. And that's why I try to tell a lot of women to get training in different like situations. Train in the rain, train in the extreme heat, train
Mhm.
at night, train sitting in a chair as if you're in your car or on your sofa or in your bed or whatnot. So just train in different situations because it's not like someone going to come when you're just standing up in your stance to shoot. You
You're
know,
walking down like a cat in
right,
this strange stance. Yeah.
right,
They're gonna catch you when you're like, drinking soda or picking your nose or something. They're just gonna pop out. So for the new shooters training at home, obviously no rounds in the firearm, empty mag. Um, are there any drills they can do out of the range? Learning to draw, break down the weapon. What do you suggest?
dry firing. That's something that they can do as well, and like pulling from the holster,
Hmm.
because pulling from the holster can be very tricky
Yeah.
depending on what you have on. If you have a big coat on, that coat can hinder you from pulling your weapon, quick. And um, just making sure you know how to break down your firearm for um, malfunction purposes or cleaning purposes. You can do that at home on a daily or however often you want to. So that way you can be more familiar and comfortable with your weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that makes a lot of sense. You guys can also play the mag game and
Mm-hmm.
just swap mags. Don't look at what you're doing.
Right.
Rack, drop, and just get that muscle memory. By the way, extreme heat. I did that the other day in a
Mm-hmm.
tactical. I had to stop. It suddenly looked at my watch. It was like 104. I'm like, what am I doing here? The other guy'd be dead from the heat. I don't have to shoot him anymore. But
Yeah.
you bring up a good point. I did notice um, as I continued to train and it got hotter. I was there about an hour and it went from 90 to 100. Like it went up fast.
Right.
And you start losing, like, your vision degrades a bit, your movement degrades. uh, so I mean, you bring up very good points, getting rain in your face while you're trying to do something. uh,
Right.
s-
And
so do you do any training with your students as far as moving forward, moving backwards, body motion while you're manipulating the firearm?
yes, I do. I train women to when if you're backing up away from your attacker, you want to shoot at an angle not in his straight direct
Yeah.
line of focus. So I train them to shoot at an angle like you're going in a different direction than his firearm is.
Okay. And have you had any students come back to you and say, uh, wow, something happened, and I remembered you told me do this if this happens, and they had a good story for you?
Not when it comes to the actual incident, but on the situational awareness
Mhm.
level. You have to have that situational awareness to keep you from being in a situation.
Yeah. And that, I think a lot of what we see in the news was a
Hmm.
lack of situational awareness by somebody.
Yeah, having that situation awareness is your advantage. That
Oh
gives
yeah,
you advantage over it all. Yeah.
I absolutely agree. I think that's spot on. So I'll go to the next question, which is suggestions specifically for, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, for women, for moms, uh, mainly not so much firearms. Obviously, little kids shouldn't play with handguns, but what can they do to better protect themselves, even if they don't have a firearm? What do you suggest they do?
Have a family plan. You want to first have a plan. What you going to do if something happened? Um, how you would get your food? How would you defend yourself? How would you provide your medical care?
Hmm.
Um, let's see, how you would get around, because I've heard a lot of women don't have vehicles, so how you going
That's an interesting point.
right. And so if you do have an emergency location, how you going to get there? So just women, stay vigilant and be prepared. And if you have kids, like I do have my kids, I have a family plan with my kids on what we're going to do if something happened, where we're going to go, what we're going to take. We have our code words. Um, if someone even comes to our home to do us harm, where we going to, the kids would hide. And also, I train my kids with the firearms. I
Oh yeah,
train kids
I did too. Yeah.
with um, the pepper spray. I train them with the steel baton. I train them with the machete, knives, all of it. So, as women and mothers, we just have to stay prepared. Because, like I said before, um, we are our targets. Single women and women with children, we are targets.
Mhm.
And we have to be able to protect ourselves and our family.
And you bring up a good point with the economic stresses, the societal stuff
Hmm.
going on. Um, People are making, well, they're like you said, some people seek to be bad to others.
Hmm.
And I don't know about y'all, I've mentioned it on my videos. I've seen so many Amber Alerts, young girls between 10 and 15, almost every single one. I've
Hmm.
never seen this many before in Texas. And usually it's a custody, like, Mrs. Jones took the baby from Mrs. Jones, and
Right.
but no, these were stranger abductions, or they took the kid off the school bus stop. So what would you tell them for those older kids who might be walking to school, might be at a school bus stop?
Right. When it comes to the Amber Alert, recently, it may be a month ago, we had like two or three in the month, but it wasn't local here. It was for this, the whole
Right,
state of Georgia.
right.
And my kids would ask me, Mama, what is that noise? I said, a child has been abducted. I don't know if it's their parents or it's a stranger. So that's why I tell my kids, don't talk to no one.
Hmm.
Stay close, in the backyard. If we were in the front yard, don't be standing on the street.
Yeah,
'Cause people just drive by and snatch your child up.
yeah.
I tell my kids to fight. If they're ever in a situation, just fight. Um, Even when they go to school, I tell my kids, even you can't trust your kids being at the school. And that's just me.
No.
So I tell them pretty much on a daily, don't, if there's a teacher and they say, come with me to this room, and you don't never go to that room, don't go.
Hmm.
So I tell them bad people are everywhere. You just can't trust, you know, just anybody. And I have them with cell phones so they can contact me at any given time.
Right. And that's really sound advice. And you bring up a good point, because a lot of people think school danger, they think a mass shooting, but
Mhm.
percentage wise, that's very small. They're much more likely to get mugged, molested, kidnapped.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that's been um, uh, prevalent here is teachers
Yes.
messing with the children.
And not just men. Everyone thinks it's
It's
the man
women
teacher.
as well. And I actually tell my kids, you can't trust the female teachers too, because I've walked into some schools and I've seen how some of the teachers talk to the children. And my children would tell me certain things and
Mhm.
they can feel the vibe. So I say, just stay away from that person.
Yeah. That, and you know, it's funny, even though they're young. I mean, the teenagers obviously they know what's
Right.
going on. You know, by that age, they're like, hey, I know what that is. But even the young ones pick up on it. They'll come home and go, that teacher's not right. There's something wrong.
It's something off. Right.
Hmm.
And even with my oldest son, I tell him, because he drives majority of the time, so I tell him, even if you see a child running in the street or a lady running in the street saying, help me, I tell my child not to stop,
Yeah,
because that, like I tell him, that can be a setup.
that's a good point. And that's actually happened. I've heard
Hmm.
cases of that, where they'll somebody's the bait person.
Right. They're actually right. And my son be saying to me, Mama, you already told me, but every time he leave the house, I
You tell them again.
tell him again and tell him to please be careful. Keep your eyes on everything around you, even if we're like we was in North Carolina and we was in a department store and I happened to hear the noise go off in the store like sort of an alarm, and it was
Yeah,
like a little commotion, and I happen to look and I see him just with his head down looking at clothes, and I called him on his phone. At first I yelled out his name.
right. And he didn't respond.
He didn't
Yeah.
respond. So I called him. I said, "Baby, why aren't you paying attention? Do you not hear that alarm going off?" I said, "Someone could be coming in the store, and shooting. You got to be alert." So I
Yeah.
that's something that we talk about a lot.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny because probably at the age they're at now, they're like, Mom, please stop.
Right.
And mine, when they got older, my daughter in particular was like, wow, remember when you told me that in parking lots outside of grocery stores
Mhm.
there are creepers? And she'll tell me whole stories about things she's seen.
Mhm.
And and I know she started carrying now, but she always had knives, and she's a veterinary technician. And
Right.
honestly, that girl scares me more with the knives than the guns, because I'm like, you've cut open like 1,000 mammals.
Yes,
If
yes.
somebody grabs you and you get a blade, it's done. It don't matter if he has a gun; it ain't gonna do no good.
Right. One slash and he's gone.
Yeah, but to your point, now she's like, Dad, you know, my friend. Um, you know
Mhm.
what's scary though is, she's in her mid 20s now. She's not
Mhm.
a puppy anymore. But she tells me, Dad, they're girls my age, older than me, into 30, early 30s.
Mhm.
Dad, they're stupid. And she said, I'm not being ugly. They literally do dumb things, and then they show up at work, they're beat up, and she'll say,
Mhm.
what happened to you? Oh, well, I went out with this boy and he got aggressive. No,
No, no. Yeah.
why were you, the minute he started that, you should have left the theater. You don't go to a dinner or go somewhere else with him. What were you thinking?
Right.
Um, it's scary. It's almost, do you feel like that too? Like
It is because, like, I have to tell my son, he'll say, Mom, I'm going to play basketball. I asked him, who you going with? Please
Mhm.
be careful. You can't trust the people that you play basketball with, even they say they're your friends. I tell him, kids are murderers.
Yeah, they absolutely can be.
Yes, absolutely. And people could be jealous of you or envious of you, and they will do harm to you.
Yeah. And thank you, Milkmaid. And Milkmaid's right. Better to educate them young.
Right.
Um, I used to tell my kids, it's never your friends that are the big problem, but your
Mhm.
friends' friends. You don't know who that second person is.
Right.
That's not the kid you grew up with. You don't know what that kid's deal is.
Absolutely. That's true. That's why I tell them to keep people out your vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
You
That's
don't
really
know.
good advice. You don't.
Yeah.
And honestly, as they got older, we made one room a game room. I put a TV in there, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
y'all want to come and be stupid in my house.
Right.
At least now I know where your stupid is. You're not running amok in the street.
And
Uh,
see, that's something that my mom did not play, and my dad. I could not go anywhere. You know, I was stuck at home. It wasn't me running the streets and staying out to 8, 9, 10 o'clock. But
yeah.
kids that I went to school with, they were doing it.
Hmm.
But I'm grateful that I wasn't exposed to just being able to run amok.
Yeah. That you kind of realize there's a balance, that there's things greater than just going out and having a good time. Yeah, absolutely. And it's scary. A lot of, I think there's, I don't know, I guess our generations, I remember getting beat up in the street all the time because I had a mouth on. And I mean, I could throw down, but every now and then I'd say something to the wrong guy and I just got stomped, or my brother got stomped, somebody got stomped. And, I told my kids these things. They're like, no, no, it won't happen. And then every now and then one of them would come home with a black. I'd be like, oh, remember what I told you? But
Hmm.
I think things changed with the advent of the cell phones. And this is just me, because even not even 10 years ago, you wanted to interact with kids, you had to go in the street and
Hmm.
interact with them. And there was a consequence, right? You ran your mouth and then they stomped you, right? And now they can be horrendous on the phone.
Oh yes.
Then they go out and think they can do the same thing in person,
Hmm.
and people get violent.
Hmm.
It's scary. It's absolutely scary. So, folks, we wanted to do, uh, because it's very cool to have a firearms instructor, someone who does defensive skill sets. So we had some scenarios I wanted to go through, and I'm going to pull up one of these videos. Let me see if I can find it here. And okay, so this one, and this is going to be very specifically. This is, I'm give credit. It's from Fear Tales, and if you've never seen this site, I don't know the guy or girl who runs it, but it's pretty cool. So Tarsha, what we're going to do, we're going to run. Let's see if it'll come up. I'm going to run these scenarios, and they're five little scenarios. So I'm going to stop after each one, and we're going to kind of talk through
Okay.
uh, what it is. So I'll get this. Let me know if you have audio, by the way. Let's see.
Other top 5 scary stalkers caught
Can you hear
on
it?
camera. In this TikTok video by The Tilted Road on March 31st of 2022, the woman stated that she had been on a
Oh, really? Well, so
walk
much for
for
the
a little
video. There
while
we
and
go.
noticed a man was following her, so she made a run for it.
I'm on a walk and this guy keeps following me, so I'm gonna start running to get away from him. And he's still following me. Guys, I'm crossing the street and I swear to God, if he follows me, then he's literally fucking following me. Guys, I can't even make this up right now. What the fuck?
After running, the man was still following her. The man had followed her for 9 blocks. She wrote a comment on the video below stating, and I quote, "I was panicking and didn't think to call the cops. I was more so worried about getting evidence of this happening, if it happens again." There are no videos of her since then regarding this issue, so I think it's safe to say she's all right for now, and I'm thankful for that.
Okay, so we're gonna pause that one. And so, what did you think? What should did she do right? What did she do wrong from your standpoint?
Um, this generation likes to record, situations, but the first thing she should have done was get 911 on the phone.
Hmm.
and look for a place. If you ran 9 blocks, you have to come upon a store somewhere. So go where others are.
Yeah.
So that, to me, this, it looks as if she didn't do neither of those.
No. I applaud her in that she realized he was following her while he was still
Mhm.
far away. So
Right.
she had room, she had time and space. But then, yeah, like you said, she's
Yeah,
just recording and like, no, call the police. But yeah,
right. And you ran 9 blocks, so nowhere where there's others for you to run to safety to.
well, she could have run into a
The
convenience store,
station, right? Yeah, right.
also a friend's house, or
Right.
place, even an office building, and find the security guy.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that I get what she was thinking, but
Hmm.
I agree with you. I don't think she did. She should have gotten the law on the phone, um, because then she could have actually said, "I'm walking down, Main Street, and I'm going to turn on first," and
Hmm.
PD could have been waiting there.
Right.
But okay, so we'll do this. We'll do this next one. Let's see where this one goes. So I'm going to expand the screen again, and uh, and by the way, I've only seen a couple of these, so I have no idea what all of them look like.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, we get a commercial. Yay. All right, well, let me kill the commercial here for a second. Uh, so, any other suggestions for folks that if they find themselves in that kind of situation,
Any other suggestions?
maybe like jogging
Oh,
in
In this
certain
video
places?
posted
Oh,
by
sorry.
10 Tampa Bay.
Maybe jogging with a friend, something like that
right.
might have been a good idea.
Absolutely. And always have some form of protection on you.
Yeah, I
Even
think,
if you
yeah, that,
can't carry a firearm, at least have a knife on you, and that would, be, something that you can use to defend off an attacker.
yeah, good point. Okay, so this is second stalker.
Bay on February 25th of 2019. A young girl is filming a man walking away from her, who police say touched her inappropriately at a bus stop. This had been going on for weeks, and the 72-year-old creep was arrested after police set up a sting catching the man following the girl to her apartment. The most disturbing part is that the man lived blocks from the bus stop and admitted to trying to kiss the girl, and he knew she was younger than 16, 12 to be exact. You might find it hard to believe the man was considered a great worker and even great around kids. It just goes to show you that people aren't always what they seem to be. And the neighbors even commended the girl for her smarts and bravery.
Thank goodness she had the wherewithal to call the police and alert them to follow him and actually find him in the act.
Okay, so did I hear that right? That he'd been following her around for weeks?
Weeks. For weeks. Like, that would have been nipped in the bud after the first attempt.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Hmm.
Yeah, because the minute he came to her, that she should have told someone.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know, but I'm assuming you're the same way. If one of my kids came and said that person
Mhm.
touched me, I'm walking to the bus stop behind them.
Right. That's where I go. I have to go up there with them every day,
Yeah.
because people could be waiting. And I hear that a lot. It happens a lot.
So do you think maybe this because she was 12, I guess they said she's a young kid. So
Hmm.
do you think maybe this was a case of she wasn't taught what to do, so it took her a while to figure out I should be doing this?
That's a big possibility that she was not being told, the signs and what to do
Yeah.
in a situation like that. Right.
Kentucky survival. Uh, Let me see. Daddy's gonna. But
Right.
to
Right.
what we said earlier, yeah, it wouldn't have gone. There wouldn't have been 3 weeks. It would have been the first incident,
Right.
and then it would have been intervened. What I do find interesting, they say that the guy was well liked, and people claimed he was good with kids, which means at some point people allowed him access to their children.
Right. That's what you call those groomers.
Hmm. And that's that we could do a whole nother live on children being groomed,
Mm-hmm.
but okay, one more, and then because we are getting close to an hour, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time, so we'll do this one more, and let's see what this one gives us.
In this video posted by Unique Daily on December 14th of 2019, two teenage girls were vlogging in Costco before going to play with a karaoke toy in the store.
Hey, what's your name? And hey, what's your hey, princess.
A little boy with his dad was intrigued and wanted to play with it too, and the girls let him jump in.
Cool.
In the back, you can see two men talking. One is the father of the boy. You might think the other guy is a friend of that man, but he's not. He's just some random guy. After the boy and his father left, the strange man approached the girls saying the toy was cool. He took the microphone and started to sing into it as well. The girls felt the man overstayed his welcome, and they began to get uncomfortable, as you can see one of the girls cling onto her sister for comfort. It's not in view of the camera, but they said the man started leaning on the cart, which caused them to feel in real danger.
Hmm.
Luckily, he ended up walking away as their mother was nearby.
Okay, bye. Bye, have a good one.
But that had to be a really uncomfortable encounter for those girls.
Am I seeing a theme with this one, that the kids are recording themselves instead of like yelling for
Point,
mom?
right. Point them out. Right.
This is God. I had, for the record, folks, I'd only seen one of these,
Mm-hmm.
part of that first one, so I hadn't seen this one yet, and I'm seeing this is, and you notice the age groups again. It's the same age groups I'm seeing, 10 to 15. Now the first girl, the jogger, she looked like she was about 20. She looked a little bit older, but this is the age they're targeting. So, all right. So, what could the girls or the parents have done differently on this one, from your perspective?
I I try to keep my kids as close as me as possible, but not all your kids gonna listen. So I have one that always run around to another owl, and I have to yell or go get her, look for her. So you just can't let them wander off.
Yeah, that's good. I think also, I think this is another example of that age group, 12 years old.
Right.
Something was wrong. The girls, you could see it in their little faces,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't know what to do. It's like the one
Yeah.
in the clip before.
Yeah, like they consider that as being creepy. They be like, that man is creepy, but you're not doing the necessary thing to make sure this creepy man, is addressed.
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. And I think malicious people have gotten very bold in the last couple of years.
They have.
I don't know if being locked down, they became jerks online, and now they're out in public being jerks. I don't know. I can theorize, but I don't know. But guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you're out there, what Tarsha's saying is spot on. You guys got to watch your kids, watch yourselves.
Yes.
So what I'll do so we don't go too long is I'll open a Q&A. So what I'm going to ask, if you have a question, uh, put it in caps, and we'll take a few minutes to. Hey, off the wall, you snuck in there. I didn't see you. Howdy.
Hey,
And there are a few other people in there. I think Ghetto was up here. There's Ghetto. What's up, man? So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions for our quite amazing firearm instructor, please feel free to throw them in the chat. And I like that being strict on them now saves me from going to prison in the future. Thank you, Lucky.
right.
So I've been here. Sometimes I'm quiet, off the wall with the ninja skills. So, folks, any questions? Moonsprout says, "Thank you so much. So valuable." Um, I'm glad. Now, for your channel, are you planning to do like little snippets of training as the channel grows, or
I am. I want to get as much content as possible so it can get, the word can get out there.
right? And your school is open to the public, so if anyone lives in your area, they can reach out and arrange a training class. Correct?
Right. I'm licensed to service the entire state of Georgia.
Okay, so for those of you in Georgia, if you want to go, even if you don't live nearby, you want to make a trip, set up a class and a lunch.
Right. And I travel as well. So if
Okay.
I need to go, closer to their town, I will.
Now, can you do, is it better like if they say have a church group, like, oh, we have 8 ladies or 8 people?
That's mhm. I'd rather do a group. And then some people prefer, the one-on-one.
Right.
So I
Oh,
do.
here's a question. So, Milkmaid, do you train your kids at a certain age, or is there a certain maturity level indicator you look for?
I train my kids on the firearm safety as early as possible. Don't wait till they're a teenager. You do it beforehand so they will know what to do and what not to do if they come upon a firearm.
Okay.
But I teach them, hand to hand self defense, as far as also using other defensive tools other than the firearm. But my two teenagers, those are the ones who go to the range and train with the handgun, they train with the shotgun, they train with the rifle.
Okay. Just a little combination of both age and maturity, depending on the kid.
Right.
Okay. So another question from Kentucky Survival: how do you train to engage a target? Two to body and one to face, which I guess was what's that, the uh, Zimbabwe drill? I can't remember what it's called. I just blanked out. Um, or do you teach center mass only? What are you?
They teach us to train for, train center mass, but I have, and I train myself and kids, for, I don't want to say it because I hear it'll get you in trouble, but
Yeah,
yeah,
you train for more advanced reactions as needed, kind of thing.
right. Because like the situation that occurred at was it the Tops? Was that grocery store where the guy had on
Oh,
the
like
bulletproof vest?
Tops. I think it was Tops
I think it
in
was.
Buffalo, right?
Right. No, no, no. Yeah,
No.
that's it.
No.
That's it. Yeah, he had on the bulletproof vest. So you have to train other than just center mass.
Right. So another question from Oki: what brand of knife do you carry?
I have a Glock knife and other knives as well. I'm not a big knife person, but I do carry a knife all the time.
Okay. Let's see. One more question. Milkmaid, do you do stress training? where you kind of stress people a little. Oh, okay. Where you kind of stress people a little. So do you do stress training?
I do. The different scenarios that have your adrenaline running because like I'll do a situation where you're right up on, your attacker is right up on you, and how would you get that person off of you?
Okay. So do you have like two students do it to each other, like with a
No,
glue
not
gun, or
this, no. I do it on, with live fire and standing in front of that,
right up
the
on the
target,
target?
right? Standing right up on it. And how would you get yourself away from that attacker?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, cool. The Glock knives are well made and cheap. Uh, okay, so I think that's about it for the questions. So, folks, I'm going to wrap it up here. Tarsha, thank you again for joining us tonight. And I looked up. I was like, "Holy cow, we've been going 50 minutes," because the conversation really flowed. Um, I think there was a lot that people have walked out with. And folks, this is again, we've all been talking about it. There's in the community, the skill sets, the equipment is great, and the food is great, but skill sets from using a tourniquet to using a firearm. I mean, um, you got to be well rounded, and I think Tarsha really touched on
Absolutely.
this tonight. So thank you so much again, and you have a bunch of kudos here. Uh, thank you, Rock,
Thank you, Candy. Do that.
and and yeah, folks. Again, Tarsha's link. Well, it's gone. It went up the chat somewhere. If you look for Triple Threat, you will find her under that same name on YouTube. Correct?
Correct.
You are not on Instagram or TikTok,
On
are you?
Instagram and Facebook. I've never done TikTok before.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I will tell you right now. Um, it can make your head spin. So that's limit. I do that in doses. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Thank you, Tarsha, once again. If you hang out for a minute, I'll close out the live, and then we can chat for a bit before we close everything. Folks, train, and if you have any questions, even if you're not in her state, I'm sure if you email out,
Email
she
me.
can.
Hmm.
You could reach out and find them a trainer in their area. Correct?
Exactly. Exactly. I sure can.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call this one a night. God bless, Godspeed, and keep training. And thanks once
Bye,
again.
everyone.
Take care.